Many thanks indeed for staying with us. Wherever you're watching from around the world, we are live from Lagos, Nigeria. And this is Business Nigeria. Let's head into our second conversation now. Emirates Airlines says it has suspended flights indefinitely to Nigeria. It said the measure started on October 29 and blamed its inability to repatriate its revenue from the country. Well, the airline disclosed this in a statement issued by the airline's public relations manager, Rula Tadrosen, on Thursday. The airline also says it has communicated its position to the federal government and the Central Bank of Nigeria. Emirates also lamented that it has not repatriated its blocked funds from the country. The move by the airline came less than 3 months after it suspended its flights to the country in August over the inability to repatriate $85 million in revenue. Meanwhile, the International Air Transport Association, IATA, also lamented that foreign airlines have not been able to repatriate $464 million from Nigeria. But let's make an attempt to dissect some of the issues and unpack the hurdles of the impacts of this particular decision on Nigeria's economy. My guest is here is an aviation analyst who doubles as the Assistant Secretary General Aviation Roundtable, Mr. Olumide Ohunayo. Thank you indeed for coming on the program, Mr. Olumide.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I think the last time you and I had a chat was when we had this kind of situation happen. There was a suspension by Emirates temporarily, sometime around August or thereabouts. Here we are now. Flight has been suspended indefinitely from Nigeria. How are you receiving this news?
Well, it's not surprising. They have been the bold one among the foreign airlines who have not hidden their pain, and you can understand why they cannot hide their pain now, because they have 2 frequencies into Lagos and 1 into Abuja, and they're using one of the biggest aircraft, the 777 and 787 for some of those flights. So they are, what they are throwing away now is they are taking the capacity away and the huge gauge that they use to operate into Nigeria, using those 3 slots, 2 times into Lagos and 1 into Abuja daily. It's a pain that has come to the industry, and we just have to live with it. I'm happy that that at least one of the airlines have come out to show the world that in the airline industry you're talking about profitability and revenue, and you don't joke with it. It's not the days of waiting for free money from government and subsidy alone to survive are gone. So if people feel that as rich as the Emirates are, they can be the first to respond, say no, we're not going to continue the losses, and it's understandable. Here's an airline that came into Nigeria. Even during this period, they tried to get the oil marketers to pay for fuel in naira, with the naira in their account here. The oil marketers refused and insisted on being paid in foreign currency. So that was putting so much stress on them. So they virtually had to be bringing money in, adding to the losses on ground.
Because that's part of the argument. You know, some experts, some analysts say the funds are not blocked, the funds are not trapped. Some say they have access to the funds.
Well, yes, they have access to the funds. What is in naira? But the rule. What do you have in the bilateral service agreement? It says that any airline that is involved in bilateral air services should have a right to repatriate its funds after paying all domestic charges. And that repatriation must, I repeat, must be done at the official rate. There's no condition. There's no condition you should go to the black market or should sell from other means. It must be repatriated at the official rate. And for you to repatriate such huge funds at the official rate without breaking any financial law, both on the domestic and international, you have to go through the Central Bank of Nigeria. So when they say yes, the money is not held by Central Bank. But when I have money and I cannot use it, what is it? It is trapped. It's trapped.
Yes, this is not a strange situation. I mean, you have mentioned it's not just an Emirates thing. There are other foreign flights.
Oh yeah, British Airways, Lufthansa, even Ethiopian Airlines that is coming to partner with us on the national carrier.
That has a major stake in a national carrier. We'll get to that.
All involved in this.
I was also going to mention, because there's a report that says that there are about 20 countries or thereabouts who are also faced with a similar situation.
Yes.
You had mentioned it the last time, Sri Lanka.
So you can remember them. Sri Lanka, Zimbabwe, even
Lebanon
Ethiopia itself. Lebanon, Iran. But if you look at these countries, do we belong to this league? Do we want to be on this league? That's not where we want to be. Again, for the first time, we are now the highest debtor among all these countries. The amount has gotten to about $700 million.
Whoa.
Now, it's about $700 million now that they are owing. Well, we are owing, right? We are owing right now. So we are the highest. And that's about 25% of the total funds owed worldwide. That's not a good rep. Yes, we've owed the department, we didn't get to this level. And I sympathize with the foreign airlines, and I know why they are kicking and showing this action. Look, we can't continue. Because that's how they rested when Venezuela was owing them, and the money got to about $2 billion. Now it's not only trapped, blocked, but it's now hidden and lost in Venezuela. And they don't want to get into that trap again. And what has happened to Venezuela? Those airlines have pulled out of Venezuela. Flights are expensive. You can and to get on those flights, you need to pay. You need to pay through the hard nozzle. So that's what you're going to get if you allow this to happen. Now, what they're taking this capacity away now, fares will definitely go up, because if you look at the passengers, 80% of the passengers on Emirates go to points beyond Emirates itself, beyond Dubai itself. So they were carrying international passengers to Europe and America. So, but if this option is not available, then those passengers on that are supposed to go on those flights will now have to start scrambling for the remaining airlines available. And look at, we're coming towards Christmas, when Nigerians definitely want to come. So price will definitely skyrocket any moment from now.
What does this portend for foreign investors, really? And of course, our FDI.
I think the message we are sending out there is not a good one. It's not a good one for us, because when you have agreement, you've signed international trade agreement, they talk to themselves. And when you cannot remit funds, if you look at the recent report from the Modi downgrading, one of the conditions of downgrading Nigeria was our inability to remit those funds. Was one of the conditions. And now, look, for the airline industry, which is my own area, you find out that for us to get spares, now to get credit facility for spares aircraft, the stake will be higher, the interest will be increased, because nobody's sure that they can get their money back. So you're going to cause more pains for the aviation industry, for those who have to deal with parts, spares, training, insurance. Then how would you think, and someone will be interested in coming to invest in Nigeria when it's not sure he can get his money out at the appropriate time and when he needs it?
Such a
so I just hope we can overcome this this problem. And I think what shocked me most was at the last sitting, rather than address and plead, we're threatening them. How can you be a debtor and you are threatening? For God's sake, not done.
Are you perhaps referring to the meeting that was summoned by the House of Rep speakers?
Exactly.
Speaker
One of the top government officials that was invited there was threatening them, if you want to leave, you leave. Do you have the power to reciprocate? Because we wouldn't have been in these shoes if Nigerian Airlines...
Are you referring to the Aviation Minister?
Well, you have said so.
No, but I mean, you were only just trying to disclose.
I was referring to him.
All right.
Yes, it was. Yes, I was wondering why you had to threaten them when you cannot reciprocate. Because the only way you can reduce this remittance, the only way you can ensure that we can stop this capital flight is for your airlines to participate. It's for Nigerian Airlines to participate. When Nigerian Airlines participate, now you reduce the funds that will be available to the foreign airlines, because you have your trade capacity in there, but you don't have anything right now. None in the same place. And the ones that are available, you want them to go. When they go, what happens to those that are traveling? It's not everybody can afford charter flights.
So I mean, you're perhaps disclosing that by the decision of Emirates to suspend flights, that meeting ended in deadlock, perhaps.
Yes, because Emirates was at that meeting, and Emirates refused to talk. They asked them. They asked Emirates to say something. Emirates said no, he has nothing to say. That rather, we want to speak behind. We want to see them behind camera. That he doesn't want to speak here. But I could understand, because I know they've been putting Emirates under pressure for being the only airline who was exposing that the issue with the remittance of the funds. Yes, that was Emirates that was being on the forefront. So Emirates said they don't want to speak, but rather maybe what they've done is they didn't want to speak. Action now speaks louder than words.
Let's say. So perhaps the Aviation Minister, Mr. Hadith Rika, is confident about what this perhaps portends for the domestic airlines.
Well,
is this an opportunity for them, or is the story the same?
There's always an opportunity for the domestic airlines, because they have the populations. You have the population, Nigerian population. You have the traveling potency of the Nigerian market. So there's always that opportunity. There's that opportunity because most of our business, even the public businesses, they would rather want to travel at the slightest excuse. And that is why you see that the foreign airlines, their cabin, the first class, the business class, are always filled, even before the economy class, where the ordinary Nigerians fly. So there's always that market. But it's how to make us participate now that we should work towards and ensure that we are players in it. If we participate in this now, we would definitely reduce the capital flight that we were getting from this remittance issue.
So, look, the aviation industry, especially here in the country and even all around the world, has suffered so much. I mean, it was the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020.
Yeah.
Flights were grounded all around the world. And then, of course, there were issues, the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, jet A, fuel crisis, aviation fuel skyrocketed and all of that. Yeah. I'm wondering, perhaps, what exactly the future looks like.
Well, you can do with we can do without air transportation, and even if you look at on the domestic front, the insecurity has made it about the only mode of transportation. What I would not want is for air transportation to exploit the situation of Nigerians and make maximum use of it. So we expect.
Perhaps are they doing that already? Exploiting Nigerians? Because domestic flights already, it's in the region of almost 100,000.
Well, you also need to sympathize with the airlines. Look at the cost of aviation fuel. Look at the rate of Naira to the dollar. We just talked about spares. We're talking about training. We're about leasing and paying for your lease on aircraft. We're talking about certification of your crew and equipment. All this costs them in dollars. And now look at what I'm saying. It's moving up on a daily basis, so they can't even plan with it. Let's be fair. For the airlines, the fare right now is not commensurate with the rate of increase in the aviation fuel. We started aviation fuel early this year at about 190. It went to about 900. Now it's about 700 something now. So look at the fares. We started with about 25,000 at the beginning of the year. We are close to about 100,000. So look at the marginal difference. It's not too much compared to the aviation fuel. There's some level of improvement if you have more capacity, if you are able to stabilize the naira, so that they can, and if you give them access to the official rate, then you can be sure that you would have the fares drop. The investors are willing. As of today, we have 4 airlines that have come on the table since the COVID time. Despite the problem with the aviation industry, we have 4 airlines. Yes. ValueJet is here. United Airlines is here. Green Africa is here.
So now that the Emirates Airlines has decided to perhaps take the bull by the horn, do you think more foreign flights would perhaps suspend operations here in the country? And if they do, what are the possible consequences?
Well, before going there, if you notice, some of them have already removed the lower fares from their inventory. So if you open the system of some of those foreign airlines now, you will not see any of the lower fares there. What you see at the higher one, I think they just try make it so difficult to assess the lower fares, and that's maybe that will push Nigerians to ensure that they help them get the funds from government. And that's one thing that they've done at the moment. But that's what the fares from Nigeria to any of the channel is very expensive. And you see Nigerians now going all the way to Ghana to connect flights to Europe because of the fare. Now, if you look at what are the consequences? What consequences do we expect? Fares will continue to rise. Fares will definitely continue to rise. And once fare rises, it might affect the number of passengers that can go. But Nigerians will now be going to neighboring countries or other countries close to them where they can get on the flight at a cheaper rate. And what happens as we are losing funds, as our aviation agencies were supposed to collect these taxes and funds from this for these passenger services, we are losing it to the foreign to our neighboring states. Again, there will be massive job losses. Like I said, 3 times a day, 2 into Lagos, 1 into Abuja. If they stop that, the entire value chain, those who benefit from the services of Emirates, the agents and co, everybody will be out of job. Will be out of job, and that's losses for us. Again, our contribution to the GDP, aviation contribution to the GDP would be lower because this is the airlines, is what they bring, the payments they make for services rendered here that helps us in the total revenue that we use to judge our contribution to the GDP, which was rising before. But I think with what has happened with this non-remittance, increase in airfare, the increase in the cost of aviation fuel, and this unpredictable and floppy fall of the naira, we would not be getting those targets we wanted for the industry.
There's an election just a few months from now. If we continue this way, I wonder perhaps what the new administration would have to battle with. But what's the way out?
What's the way out? Well, for the non-remittance, we are committed. We are committed to remitting those funds after they have paid all the domestic charges. So we must do everything to remit it. Even if you cannot get all, you must make a promissory note. Give a timeline of the schedule of payment. There's nothing wrong with that.
There was a release by the Apex Bank some months ago.
It was glossy. You said we announced it. The Emirates stopped and said, okay, they were not going to stop their flight. And the next thing, you are out of the 50% you promised, you paid 12.5%. Then you're going to pay the remaining 12.5% at the end of October to make it 25%. Then you said before the end of the year you pay another 25%, and that wasn't what they expected. But they thought at the announcement of that 50%, they were going to get at least 25% and maybe the next 25% at the end of October. But you are spreading it, and there's no, even the one that you promised to pay, you are not, those days where you're not committed to it, and they've been applying for forex, and they're not getting it. So rather than according to risk, I think they've taken the best option for them. They've proven to us now that the airline is a business-oriented airline and not one funded by government or oil money.
Well, we have to leave it here, Mr. Olumide. It's such a very pathetic situation. It's a disturbing one for the aviation industry here in the country. We hope that things will get better, and I'm personally hoping that other foreign airlines would not perhaps be encouraged by the decision of Emirates Airlines.
I'm sure that with what has happened with Emirates, they would buckle up. Something will be done. Something will be done quickly.
Because
we should understand that the Christmas is approaching, and we have Nigerians that want to travel in and travel out, and that's a hectic traveling period. So we do not need to put more pains on Nigerians.
Perhaps that's the language the government understands. Suspension, strike. A fine place to anchor a conversation with you, Mr.
Provided it's legit.
Mr. Olumide Hunayo, he's an aviation analyst, is also the Assistant Secretary General, Aviation Roundtable. As always, thank you indeed for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.